Thank God it's Sunday and we got to see another one. Cause it's better than the other one. Yeah. Round 4 on the corner run. King Crowder and he rapping, son. I'm trying to rap, get this thing going. Who already said we all flowing? I'm trying to get it right. New corner inside. Happy to be here, right? Who already know show gonna be tight. Woo! Gonna watch me now. Gonna watch me now. And we going live how? Let the entryway sound. Wow. Reaction. Did you see the fight and you see them things happen? Reaction. Take and dive on these topics. I'm gonna tell you what I know. Like the status of the thing, so we go. I'm beyond big happy. It's a blessing to be here now. Who said I can't rap, y'all? It's your boy, King Crowder, back again with another wrap up, man. This week was crazy. It is truly a blessing, an honor, and a gift to be here. If you have not got to celebrate yourself, man, I am here. Just give a wrap up on the events. Talk about all these crazy things that went on this week. Because I do believe it is a way and style we need to talk about. I do believe we need to break down concepts in an intellectual, fun format. And I think one thing I know as a Black American, we can't be afraid to talk about it in different ways. So, again, this is my Reaction Sunday. This is my Reaction Sunday. So in my Reaction Sundays, y'all, I just want to break down a week. We just going to discuss it. So, first things up, the fight of the century. I don't know if you was living under a rock, under a cave, where you stay at. But if you did not see it, man, this was the greatest boxing match in probably 20 years, they said. Two prime fighters, two apex predators battling each other. Earl Spence and Terrence Bud Crawford. If you did not know, Terrence Bud Crawford comes from the great state of Omaha, Nebraska. He is a country boy. He is somebody to be feared, recognized, and recognized. The man fighting for his hometown, his country upbringing. He is truly a warrior. And then we have big city legend, Errol Spence, coming from the great state of Dallas, Texas. If you did not know the history of Dallas, we can dive into it. You can see the King Crowder channel, diving into the freedom towns and how Dallas was established by Black Americans in this country. You got to know about Oak Cliff, Stop 6, all those great destinations that were once phenomenal Black towns. I advise you to check those videos out if you want to see them in detail, but that's not today. Today is my reaction, y'all. Man, Earl Spencer had no business fighting that man. It was not even competitive. I knew at the start of the glove match that when they started going, Tyson Crawford is truly a master boxer. The best way I can explain it is that if anybody seen the Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury fight, it was similar to that. Earl Spence is a street fighter, a knockout artist, a 1-2 puncher. He is not a boxer. Bud Crawford, woo, he is a tactician, parry, speed, left, right, southpaw, switch his hand speed up. If you look at his dominating performance, he was head and shoulders above Earl Spence. And everybody always keep talking about, man, they feel like Spence cut too much weight, which that could be a thing, right? He cut too much weight. He was tired. He physically exhausted his body. I'm not saying none of that is not possible. What I'm saying that from that fight and from that era and what we saw, they can fight 20 times. Bud is going to knock him out every time. He can't hang. And if you saw that fight, there should not be a rematch. I look at Terrence Bud Crawford the same way as John Bones Jones in the UFC. John Jones don't need to fight nobody. That man is a lethal weapon. He is head and shoulders above everyone. Terrence Bud Crawford is 35 in his prime. Who's gonna beat him? If I was any of those prize fighters and my fighters was coming up, stay away from that man. I know it's not cool to say openly that you're scared of somebody or you don't want to fight them, but I'm gonna say it openly for everybody that don't want to say it. Stay away from Terrence Bud Crawford. He is an assassin. He is a hitman. He is the undisputed greatest welterweight potentially of all time. Size, speed, poise, tenacity, fearlessness. Tell me anyone that is on his level. I can't name anyone, y'all. I mean, just watching with my own two eyes, you see the outright explosiveness of this gentleman. And it's not a fight. It's not. I mean, like, just seeing how he goes with the ropes, switching them up, and seeing who could be next on the docket. If I have a fighter next on the docket, I know you may be bad, bro. I know you may be fearless. I know you may be bad. But that man, I wish I could. Let me pull his picture up. That man, that dark-skinned field ninja, field nigga, that's who he is, a field nigga. You better leave that man alone. You better leave him alone. For real. Just if you fighting Terrence Bud Crawford for the next 3 years, chalk up a 1 in the loss column. I said it right here. You heard it here first. Coming off King Crowder Network, News Channel, whatever you want to call it. That man is not losing no fights. He's not. He is not. Bet your money, bet your work, whatever you want to do. Bud Crawford, primetime EA gamesmanship, took 3 belts. He's not losing. If you are smart, if you are a businessman, stay away from him. Run. Protect your assets. He will not lose. Bud Crawford, I'm going to say this before I change the subject, man. Take care of yourself. I mean, you got 7 kids, good Lord. We know you procreating, which ain't nothing wrong with that. You a champion. You a good man. Take care of yourself, bro. Keep your mind, your mental sharp. Stay fearless. Stay training. I know you dedicated. I seen when you came out by yourself with the fishnets on. You on another level, bro. They ain't got to believe in you. I believe in you. I know a man that believes in himself and has something to prove. I see you. I see myself in you. Different monsters, same beasts. People doubt you, man. The people that are doubted the most, you fear the most. When I mean fear, I mean it's fear of spirit and reverence. Bud Crawford, you to go. Now that we transition out of this subject, man, whew, if you have a Netflix account right now and you are a Black American, I want you to get on there right now. Tap that in button on your app, Google Play Store, Apple Music, TV, whatever. If you need my Netflix account, ask me. I'll give you the sign in. Everybody needs to watch the subject and movie called Who Cloned Tyrone? Who Cloned Tyrone? The movie is labeled as a mystery and fantasy. I'm going to say something right now. That movie's a documentary. The movie Who Cloned Tyrone is labeled as a mystery / fantasy, but it is, 100% documentary. This film documents the hoods of America. Let me say that again. They Cloned Tyrone film movie is a documentary / what they're calling it, a mystery / fantasy of Black America. The hoods in America are controlled by white folks. The hoods in America are controlled, financed, and engineered by white people. I know people get crazy when you hear that type of stuff, but those people that live in there primarily live on government assistance, certain housing, and qualify for certain things. If that item was removed, we would see a restabilization. But the most phenomenal part about this film that nobody talked about is that how you see people coming from an urban environment, how you see Tyrones in every hood. I remember growing up a lot, right? My father used to always say, hood cats project babies, whatever you want to call them. I could say my father was more of a hood guy than I was. I was around an upbringing as I've had brothers that have been incarcerated, so I sympathize with the situation. I understand. But I feel like the whole concept of I'm from the hood has been desensitized now to label guys who don't want to do anything. Not disrespecting them. We know the guys that are trying to improve, the money go get us. I salute you, bro. But the ones that's just there, not doing anything, they act like their struggle is unique. The phenomenal thing about Who Climbed Tyrone, the movie, highlights that them guys are just not an anomaly. They're very common. It's very common to see a hood guy that is unproductive, who doesn't do anything, that doesn't have his life together, who does not have an intellectual curiosity, who does not want to improve himself, that harms primarily his community. Who Clones Tyrone was so phenomenal because it breaks down how you will have so much animosity with each other, but you will see white people in your community doing business, conducting business, and do nothing to them on a daily basis. That is one of the first deep and psychological meanings I noticed immediately. They will see white people around this community doing business inside their community and do not question it. They do not rob them. They do not endanger them. They actually support them, move around equally. Who Cloned Tyrone goes into the fact that, number one, all the hoods are engineered to be a certain way. I mean, number one thing that caught me off guard about Who Climbed Tyrone, the chicken and the fast food industries are all the same every neighborhood you go. It's a reason why you see so many food desert, isolated food places. Is because they want to control what you can eat. My wife is vegan, right, y'all? She's heavy into what you consume in your body, taking care of your temple, your body being a biggest organ in, how you should replace it, how there is nothing that you can do to replace the nutrients inside of you. Who Clones Tyrone shows how easy it is to manipulate people based off what they eat, what they watch, and the music they listen to. The first thing that caught you in the movie, right? When they build up, they use the lowest common denominator of black hood society. They have a gang member, they have a pimp, and they have a prostitute. They are symbolic to say the lowest of the lowest tend to be in these communities. And the lowest of the lowest had the intellectual wherewithal to see something going wrong and they needed to change it. And when they noticed that these things started to go wrong, they had to literally intellectually figure out ways to circumvent the system. And when they went against the system that was working inside their neighborhood, they had to infiltrate it as a group. Who Cloned Tyrone is such a phenomenal movie because it dives into the stereotypes and how they occur. If you look at most black communities, right, that especially in poverty-stricken environment, you will see a lack of businesses, resources, and ways to move around. So when you see these type of engineered things, you will always see the follow-up of music, the follow-up of strip club, very gangster culture. Everything has been engineered to be that way. When you think about it, I want you to think about this, y'all. I'm going to go deep. Every project inside of America, inside of a major city, is usually on the south side of the city. There are usually railroad tracks that disconnect that city, and they are normally very isolated from any other ways to get motive for businesses. If you go to south side of Chicago, once you pass that railroad, there are no businesses there. If you go to the Bronx, New York, the Bronx is all the way on the outskirts of town. If you go to Fifth Ward in Houston, you will notice that side of town literally has very little bus routes that go in and out of that community. If you go to Liberty City in Miami, Florida, you will notice that they're extremely financially isolated. If you go to North Philly, you will notice that it is completely separated from the other side of the Philly tracks, subway system, and how they can move around. They isolate that community, and they police them by not letting them leave. That's the deep psychological part. Once you leave the hood, the police will tell you, what are you doing, where are you going? It is kind of a scenario where they squeeze you and keep you in this barrier. They don't want you going out and experiencing different things. Who Cloned Tyrone did a phenomenal job of painting that picture of that. Most people realize that when you see these poverty-stricken environments or you see these hood type of shows, they never go that deep to show how it is all connected with each other. Who Cloned Tyrone was such a phenomenal series because it goes into how we can have doubt with each other, but never against major entities. The third major thing that I like to point out Who Cloned Tyrone that make it such a phenomenal series that everyone should tap into is the music. You heard me talk about hip hop before, y'all. I am a hip hop aficionado, or whatever you want to call it, lover, architect. The original format of hip hop, I love it. I do. I love what the consciousness of it. I love the enlightened memories, the fight the powers, all of that. But the newer wave that we're currently in that is extremely corporatized is not good. What it is showing right now is that the corporate infrastructure, we must know, y'all. Whenever you see corporate business, I work in corporate, you got to understand that corporate is a for-profit business. Whenever you see corporations, that means for profit to increase the value to the shareholders. That is their main job, which is nothing wrong with that. But you must know the entity you're dealing with and what the expectations are. So the value of hip hop right now is extremely corporate. You ever wonder why the sound sounds the same? No matter what you hear. Think about the artists that you see representing women nowadays. The Sexy Reds, the Glorillaz. No disrespect to them young ladies as a person, but the amount of music they put out, just read the lyrics. Listen to the music sound quality. Tell me, can that touch any era outside of this one? Tell me the amount of music that it will be played 10 years from now. None of it will. All the music is right now, this summer, trendy. You don't hear it no more. You don't believe me? When the last time you heard F Nigga Free? When the last time you heard Megan Thee Stallion song? When was the last time you heard it? They're trendy. They're for that moment. They have a summer window. Once that summer window is gone, their careers usually goes down the way. You don't see that pivot to have the longevity of a Drake or certain amount of artists. Once something is over corporatized, remember, they are focused on enhancing the budget, getting that bottom line, recruitment on the back end. That is their primary focus. It is not on the craft, the music, the artistry, what it takes to be great long term. That is not the sole focus. And once you learn that and you understand that, you will begin to be moving in a better direction. Who Cloned Tyrone? It is an iconic movie, y'all. It is up there with Jordan Poole's Us. I'll have to break down Us in a later time to dive deep into that. But the psychological ramifications of this movie, when you look at the artists that are Slick Charles and Fontaine and Yo-Yo, you will begin to see the parallels on how this documentary movie, it ain't a fantasy, y'all. It is actually a documentary on the black community currently. And if you don't believe me, just think about this for a second. Who endorses most of this ratchet hood culture? Who endorses most of the sexy red music? Who endorses talking to each other crazy, being disrespectful, being inhonorable, being fake friends, cutting people off, stealing, being shiesty? That is not primarily black American culture. No matter how far you go back. If you meet most black Americans to this day, they don't represent that. They don't like the shiestiness culture. That ain't us. It is something that is played on the music and the hip hop waves. But why is the lowest amount being emphasized as such? J. Cole's ain't emphasized no more. They're not. Kendrick Lamar's aren't emphasized. When they primarily get the love and the support from most people. Most people love the K Dots, the J. Cole's, the Wale's, the other artists, the Travis Scott's. They have a different genre and taste, and they're pushed to the back front. But the other artists that perpetrate a negative stereotype who don't have good quality music are endorsed more. Who Cloned Tyrone? 5-10 star movie you need to go watch today. Remember, it is a documentary film. It may say fantasy, it may say mystery, but it's 100% reality, the current state for black Americans at this time. Watch it, read it, learn it, and educate yourself on it. Next, since we talked about that topic, right, of who cloned Tyrone and the industry going on, your boy, Dr. Umar, took a photo with your girl, Suki Hana. I like Umar. I like his message. I like what he's trying to stand for and what he's trying to do. But boy, if he ain't showed himself the past 3 years, I mean, what is the value on taking a picture with Suki Hana? Besides the clout chase, I get the clout chase of it. You're chasing the clout. You notice she's viral. You're trying to be viral, but you're already viral, brother. You can't be no more viral than you are right now. What is the benefit of meeting with Suki Hana, Dr. Umar? You're a psychologist. You're an intelligent brother. You're an intellectual. You're a father. You're a speaker. You're a leader in the Pan-Africanism. What is the benefit of meeting with Suki Hana? I gotta ask a question nobody else wanna ask. Let me look around, make sure nobody look. Did y'all switch? Did she eat your, did she switch? Keep it real, Umar. Did y'all switch? I mean, if y'all did, keep it 100. I mean, I ain't mad at you, bro. I know it had to be fun. But what did y'all do together? I really want to know. What did y'all talk about? Y'all ain't talk about African in the world. I know that wasn't. Come on, man. You slid, didn't you? You slid. I know you slid in there. I know you did. I know you did, bro. Y'all did some strange things for a little piece of change. Keep it real. Umar and Suki got OnlyFans coming out. I'm going to say it now. I'm going to say it right now. They got an OnlyFans video coming out. That's the only thing that makes sense. What did you do? What was that conversation like? The sister said on open TV, I'm a hood rat, I'm a ratchet, I sell cat. What more do you need to hear from her? I respect her because she's honest. Personally, I respect Suki. I respect her because she keep it honest with herself. Now, I don't endorse that. I don't believe young ladies should be that way. But she's telling you what she is. She a hoe. I respect it. You cannot get mad at what a woman call herself. You can't. If more people had her vulnerability and honesty, the world would be a better place. But as a doctor, as a psychologist, as a leader that you call yourself, self-claim, what was the benefits of meeting her? Don't tell me. I want to know. To me, that's worse than meeting a white woman for him. People can call me crazy. That is worse than him being with a white woman. Umar meeting with Suki, having a conversation, exchanging fluids, and talking. Come on now. He clapped. Umar will be on OnlyFans next week. He gonna be on her OnlyFans. Did you see it too, y'all? She had the little hat on. She was looking conservative. They clean up for the man they like. She respect Umar. She does. She cleaned up nicely for him. She looked very appropriate. She didn't have a different color hair, distorted hair. She did what she was supposed to do. She secured that man. Umar got snatched, snugged up, and we're gonna see him on her OnlyFans account. The image is out there, y'all. You know, once I get good enough with everything, I'm gonna make sure I show it because the image is worth 1,000 words. He on that cheesing. Did he switch? Umar eating? I ain't say words. That's what happened. Umar switched with her. I'm gonna call it there. Umar and Suki switch. They switch. She told you what she willing to do. Like I said, I know the hair fine. I know it's fine. I get it, Umar. You risk it all for them little 15 minutes. That's what happened. Let me change gears, man. I'm sorry I'm laughing at myself, y'all, because we know it's funny. I know it is. Man, my boy Travis Scott dropped the album. He dropped the album called Utopia. It is his full studio album released by Travis Scott, man. Thoughts on this Travis Scott album? Let me go ahead and take my water with this one. Let me go ahead and take a breathe. So we know he's been working on it for the past 2 years. 3 years, right? The album is titled Utopia. Is you different? I'm not going to say trash. I will say Travis Scott is I think he's going that Playboy Carlee route. I played it with wife and she said the album was you trash. She made me laugh when she said it. I don't think it's bad. I definitely feel like he is not on the rap wave. I listened to it twice. I'm gonna go 5 out of 10. The music quality, the uniqueness, the direction. I'm a fan of Travis. I like Travis. I think he's a phenomenal performer. I do believe he's on that level with Kanye and them. Travis Scott is on that level. He is. Drake, Cole, Ye, Travis Scott could sell out any tour in any city right now. He's a phenomenal performer. This album, maybe it gotta grow on you over time, but Utopia, it's a hard first listen. But I can say a few of those records were bangers. I did love the one he had with 21 Savage. I felt like that went hard. I felt like the song he had with Thugger. I felt like that went hard. And I can tell he took his time with this. I mean, Travis Scott has had a lot of bad pub recently, y'all. We know. Travis Scott has had the issues legally. He actually got cleared from the wrongdoing of Astro World, the tragedy. And I believe this brother's building himself back up, man. He is truly having a remarkable legacy, story, and run. So with all of that headlines, pressure, everything that he's currently dealing with, he overachieved. His fan base is crazy. Travis Scott's fan base is insane. They love that guy. It's not necessarily a demographic that we all may understand, like Playboy Cardi, but the 25 and under crowd, Travis Scott is their Drake. He is their Drake. His fan base is hard. They're loyal. They know his records. They buy his merch, his bundles. When you go out, you hear his songs. Travis Scott is a rightly legend in his own path. Now, his sound may not be for everyone, and I understand how that disconnect may be there. Travis Scott is on another level. I'm going to put that out there. The great Travis Scott, Utopia. I'm going to give it a 5 reviews. 5 out of 10. So at this time, we already hit our first 4 topics for the day. I want to do something different. I want to give myself a little bit of intermission. Play a little sound. Try to connect these roots where I can sub Lucy's channel so you can see things and see where the mic will be. So that will be our main focus from now on. We already covered Crawford versus Spence. We already know how I felt about that. We dived into the Who Cloned Tyrone movie reviews. We went into the Umar picture. Lord have mercy. We seen what he was working with. The next thing we got to break down was the Travis Scott album review. So what we're going to do is give a brief intermission before we go into our next concept. So the crowd is, baby, please take your time and enjoy it. Please make sure you just enjoy this message. This is what next thing we're going to be working on. So now that we are there, I'm going to play this vibes right quick. Let the rest of the people come in. Let the rest of the questions come in. 3-minute intermission, y'all. And then we will be right back. Starting now. We back again, y'all. Ooh, I had to let that thing marinate right quick. I had to let it marinate because when we saw this next topic, man, it's a heavy subject. For those that are not heavy into the movie industry, the film industry, and seeing what's actively going on right now, there's a movie in a movie theater, y'all, that is some of the most controversial issues in the world. The film is titled Songs of Freedom. Songs of Freedom is about human trafficking. Human trafficking is one of the most controversial subjects on this planet. Human trafficking is such a provoking issue is because most people do not realize how deep it goes. The film, it's called Sounds of Freedom, is actually in the United States right now. It is a very common issue that we see not just with women. Most people don't realize that there are multiple types of human trafficking. There are labor force human trafficking. There are debt and bondage human trafficking. And the one that we commonly is social human trafficking is sex trafficking. Sounds of Freedom, the film, primarily focuses on the sex trafficking industry. The reason why this film is so controversial is that number one, it's good. And it's eye-opening that it happens so common that we don't talk about it. We always heard the story about Jeffrey Epstein, right? How he had the island in the Caribbean and what he was doing to those young ladies. Do you realize that was actually a 100% true story? Sounds of Freedoms is such a big deal because it makes claims and accusation that some government industries participate in this. The story goes into about how South American Colombians, the drug traders, would use sex trafficking as part of their organization. You have one police officer that really pursues these criminals and to find out how connected they are to government officials. The reason why that's such a huge deal is that this movie is so good and is not being discussed. It has an audience 99% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and the film creators and the people that review the movies give it a negative review. That lets you know that the audience will always overshadow what the real best reality is. The audience is actually telling you what they think is good, but the critics disagree. That tells you that there is a narrative or a motive being pushed. Sounds of Freedom breaks down as an action film how human trafficking happens. Did you know that America has one of the most common human trafficking, which is not forced sexual labor, but it is forced labor to work inside of our countries? Most people that get locked up in prison or working on farms, our prison workers, are forced labor. Most people don't know that. So even though it is not human trafficking as far as the sexual aspect, Sounds of Freedoms open your eyes to how connected these acts must be that government officials are interacting in it. Human trafficking is such a big deal worldwide that we see it on a mass grand scale, aka slavery. That was a mass unit of human trafficking situations. Most people don't connect the dots on that. Is that human trafficking back in those days, especially with the transatlantic slave trade, was human trafficking. We didn't title it that way. We didn't call it that way at a certain time, but it's literally the same act and the same thing that was occurring. So as we were talking about this and we break it down from a historical concept, we understand why Sounds of Freedom is such a resounding movie. I want you to think about this. We just talked about Who Cloned Tyrone and Sounds of Freedom. Both of them movies are documentaries, y'all. The best music, movies, films, articles, and discussion mimic reality. We love, crave, want, and desire authenticity. That's what we want. Us as American people, we crave that. The old fake storyline does not resonate with us as in things that actually happen. And once we know the story actually happened, we tend to connect with it further. It tends to make us watch. It tends to draw us in. Why? because we're taught fake history. We're taught fake studies. We're taught that we're the best and we're not. So in our reality, we experience so much deception that when authenticity breaks through, we go towards it. This film is such an eye opener because it is so demonized, not supported, not promoted, but it is still being talked about. It is still being showed love. It is still drawing connections and information pieces. And like the Who Cloned Tyrone series, it is not promoted heavy. The people promote the best products. I always think about this in this term, y'all. You ever see when somebody's trying to force something to be hot and it's not good? No matter how much you may hear a song, if it's not good, it doesn't matter. And if you have a hit record, it needs no promotion. It's a hit. Like I always think about the Lil Nas X songs. Not saying they were horrible, but the songs where he had the sexual perversion on them a lot, they weren't hit records. You had to forcibly promote some of them early on. Some of his records did have banger quality, but when you have to force that amount of people liking a record, it never sticks. It tends to come, marketing dollars go, and it goes away. Because when it's a banger, you ain't got to worry about nothing else. But honestly, Sounds of Freedom takes apart how human trafficking helps, how they have an underground railroad station for human trafficking victims. Remember, this takes place in Central America, Honduras. And when these battle people, these special agents go in to find these little girls being kidnapped and nobody following up on it. Nobody finding out about how they're happening. They're talking about the Thailand sex industry, multiple facets, y'all, and how they affect even the U.S. Embassy. This movie is such an eye-opener called Sounds of Freedom. I'm not telling you that you should support or you should go see everything. I'm just telling you that when you see films that resonate with the people and that you hear being discussed heavily, that means they're normally good. The rating on this film is literally a 99%, and the audience rates it higher than what most people like. All I'm saying is that this film is eye-opening. It has been released since January of this year, and it is still being shown. Sounds of Freedom, Who Cloned Tyrone, are the most authentic pieces of movie material released this year. Eye-opening, resounding, authentic, serious, and very shocking. Go see both. You heard it from King Crowder first. Transitioning on, y'all, after Sounds of Freedom. This might escape the news topic this week, y'all, but it didn't escape me. Has anybody seen China's new policy going on? If you are gay and you are in China, you cannot be allowed to be gay openly. Now, if y'all don't know how China get down, China, like the Middle East, they keep it 1,000. They don't bull jive with you. They do not lie. They are not transparent. China has a no BS policy. And per the new China policy, y'all, you know they already had the super COVID restrictions, but right now, the former president and the new administration of China, you know they have their record. If you don't know how communist countries work, communist countries are government-led leadership that dictate how citizens will think, work, and react. Most Chinese citizens wake up and are raised to certain careers and jobs given to them based off their natural abilities. There is virtually no poverty in communist country, which is a good thing. But the negative thing on the other aspect is the government controls everything. And the people in power tend to stay at power. Communist countries literally need their regime to be overthrown before they start seeing anything else change or need to be pivoted. China's new policy right now is outlawing homosexuality. They do not want to see their birth rates decline. But we do know China has over 1 billion people. And now that they're becoming more modernized, they're starting to see different movements form inside of their country. So the government is trying to screen, limit the access. So if you are a Chinese homosexual, you will not be allowed to speak openly in their country. Let me say that again. If you are a homosexual in China, per their policy, you cannot speak openly about your lifestyle, what you believe in. You must do it quietly or you will be abandoned. China don't play, y'all. They said, per the results right now, China's new policy will be groundbreaking, innovative, and a plan to uphold and keep masculinity toxic. They have seen the way that South Korea's masculinity has went down. Look at K-pop and the other industry. China sees this down the road, and they're upholding their masculinity standards by having a zero policy against homosexual activities, access, and public displays of affection. China's letting their people know right now, y'all. We ain't going for that. China is already shown that they will remove Google, Facebook, YouTube, anything that goes against their government regimes. China is letting you know firsthand they're not going for it. So if you are traveling, doing business, or enlighten yourself on going to these certain countries, y'all, educate yourself before you go. Number one, the laws are different. What do I mean? China is a communist first regime. That means you are guilty until you're proven innocent. So I want you to think about it. There's always a language barrier, there's a government barrier, and there is a philosophical differences. Do not go to places, do crime, not respect the laws, and not understand what's going on. They're saying in black and white that they're enforcing that. So if you are an LGBT member right now, it is not a good job to go to China the way they're doing things. Period. No sugarcoating. We keep it 100. We love you, but it is not a good job to go to those countries like that. They're blatantly telling you what they're restricting. I know it's crazy to hear, but the rest of the world is not as tolerant. We live in a small country. The rest of the world is very different. I believe we just saw the story of a young lady, I'm going to give an example, who was a sassy trucker from Houston, Texas. She's a sassy young lady, typical young black American female. But when you go to these other countries, there is no talking back. There is none. If you are in a country whose laws are different, respect the laws of the land. I may even say fear them, y'all, because we cannot control their matters. That is a civil stateside government issue, not a legal one. Their laws are different. You can't go to another person's house and tell them how you think things will be ran. The nerve of you, the arrogance of you to think you can do that. Stay safe. Stay on point and know what is going on. Trust me, it is as much easy to do that long term, man. People don't talk about these serious issues right now, but we should. We should talk about them because they will have an effect on us long term. Real talk. You see the way China getting down. They are limiting what their citizens can see, hear, or do. They already have a limit on TikTok. China is leading by force, not by progress, ladies and gentlemen. China is leading by force and not by progress. Moving on. One of my favorite black Americans in the United States, man, right now, Tariq Nasheed, is actually started the new hip-hop documentary. My father's a native New Yorker, and my father would say his family lineage was a part of the Black Panther parties. I can say my mother came from Mount Pleasant, Tennessee, formerly where her enslaved family background came from. Her father's side of the family was a freed family that fought and earned this freedom. Then they moved to Monroe, North Carolina, started a freedom town there and began to build. My father's ancestral background is a little bit different. He came to the United States, and his father was a onset leader of the Black Panther Party. Allegedly, we met his mom, blah, blah. That's how he got here. So my father always taught us to have a certain level of consciousness growing up. So as I was growing up, I was already aware of how race was, the Black Panther parties and different things. So my father always mentioned to me about hip hop and its direct legacy to the South. We always assume that most hip hop heads think it started in New York. No, it actually started in North South Carolina. Everything started in the Carolinas and Georgia, to be honest with you. If you look at everything in history, food, pies, drinks, everything started in the Carolinas and the Georgia region. That's why Atlanta hip hop music has been so dominant, because most of the creativity is there. Ding, ding. But if you look at it from a historical concept, we always hear that the Bronx and DJ Kool Herc started and created hip hop. No. If you ever look at it from a historical perspective, you will see hip hop historians saying that hip hop started back in the Carolinas in the 40s. And if you think about it, how can something be sparked just in one area if there was no music genre in front of it? Hip hop is an onset of jazz, blues, and funk. That's what made the foundation of rap. That's where the music of hip hop formed from. So whenever you hear those things that certain people had a hand in hip hop, that's bull jive. Just think about it. And I love that Brother Tariq Nasheed is actually doing a documentary, getting the founders to speak about it, because most of these brothers are still living. My father is a 70s, 80s baby, so he always breaks down how, my father probably 60, I'm lying. He breaks down how hip hop was formatted. Him being up there, he's from New York. He moved down south when him and my mom got married, had his children. He's a Rolling Stone, all that stuff. But I remember him telling me stories most of the time that many Latinos did not like that black people had a hand in hip hop and how they went against it. Many Puerto Ricans were anti-black Americans who were doing the music at the time. Many people did not believe in the hip hop music because they called it gangster sound, gangster energy. Hip hop was kind of demilitarized. They didn't want it because they had funk, they had disco, they had party music. That was the popping sound. Hip hop came up and changed the landscape on all of it. So when the founders get to speak on these issues and talk about the founding principles of consciousness, radical thinking, and going against the government, fight the power, whenever you hear the foundations of hip hop, you will always see that element there. You will always see young, rich movement, rich culture going against that type of ideology. So I'm extremely proud that my brother Flex is doing that, man. Been a follower, love of his mindset, his thinking, his philosophy for years. But I am so happy that we're getting to see this documentary. Again, he inspires me to be the person I am today. I learned from a lot of our leaders, man, not just Tariq Nasheed, many Black American leaders that we see throughout the space. My father being the main staple, but all of those people that I've met inside my life have inspired me and led me on my journey and inspired me to make my own lane, to organize. So I'm extremely excited to see this documentary. I think it is highly needed, highly recommended, because right now the state of hip hop is, in a bad direction. It really is. And I believe it can be retooled, but it has to go back to small market feel. Right now, the corporations are too heavy in it, y'all. And whatever the corporation's getting anything, look at Airbnb right now. They make it messed up. Because remember, corporations care about for-profit only. Get that in your mind. Corporations care about for-profit business only. Once you understand that, you learn that, and you master that, you understand how the quality tends to diminish now. Once it stays mom and pop and small businesses, the quality stays high, the people care more, the food tastes better, the service is better. Whenever big corporations come in and bite it up, they might make more hours or make it more consistent, but the quality diminishes heavily. That is why the sound of rap music has diminished over the past 15 years. That's why. Mall label, there is no MMGs, there is no Slip and Slide, there is no Cash Money Records. Look at any of the big record labels that once were there, that were infused in the culture. All the Black Americans, they had a strong footing in that. Record labels are actually gone. That is why the sound is gone. Shout out to King Flex, y'all. Look forward to that documentary about that brother. He's a true inspiration to us out here, us next generation of Black American men, specifically me. I love you, brother. Next up, going to the West Coast this time. I got a buddy, man, that lives in LA. He's behind the camera, though. He's not in front of the camera, right? And my boy's birthday was this past week. He was going to LA. He was going to Vegas to see the fight, enjoy the birthday. He went out there to see Lil Wayne's concert, and he saw the Crawford fight. Shout out to my boy. I ain't gonna name his name because he is a big deal out there, and I'm proud of my brother. 7 promotions in, dog. Proud of you. And what he does down there in LA to open my eyes up is that he is behind the camera, right? And what he's been telling me is that the AI writers and actors strike is already done. He told me that when you think about it, all the films are already using AI. The Avengers, for example, Robert Downey Jr. on that Avengers set was on the set for a total of 25 minutes and got paid $26 million. He had to be in for the voice material, but as far as the acting on set, it's 100% AI. So all of the films we have seen that has dramatic effect, flair, already have AI implemented into it. We cannot go backwards, y'all. As scary as it says, if you are in front of the camera talent, if you are somebody that's doing something that is not an art form to it, it's going to be very hard for you to survive. actors, writers will have to pivot. They will. I don't know or foresee unless they go 100% independent, which I do think the independent wave could be strong if the content is driven good. I don't see any big box major films that will create a new wave or new lane of that because AI technology is so vast. It is. It's a stronghold, it's a strong footing, and you can see how the writers are in the fortitude. For example, how can I need you for editing when I can put it in ChatGPT now? Not saying that ChatGPT can correct the concept, make it stick, but why do I need you for that mass editing tool if I have something on the back end that can edit something for me? Now, I do believe ChatGPT does have its limitations. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. But on the front end, instead of me having to worry about your sick days, your sick time, if you're going to come to work, if you feel like working, the emotional distress actors have done over the time, how will they be able to do that now? How can you compete with somebody that's going to come to work, rain, sleet, snow, sunny, sick or not sick? That's what technology is. Technology is not going to give any excuse or variation. It's going to show up, put its hard hat on every day, and do what it's supposed to do. And right now, the actors has to go against that. Talking to my boy, I don't see a foreseeable win for them. I just don't. I don't know what they can do to lean that because the streaming numbers are producing this sale, the numbers are hitting, the figures are gone. How are you going to grow this? I mean, with LA being oversaturated as it is, I mean, have you seen the LA market for housing? Crazy. I mean, a 1,000 square feet house, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, going for 1.1 million. You gotta be crazy. It's a scam. And LA is literally overpriced. It's priced out. They're pushing people out of the market. And excuse me, I don't know anything that can happen but a hard reset. There is literally nothing that can happen but a hard reset to the marketplace. Because the AI and the screenwriters will come to an agreement, but half of the right actors will be gone. Half of the right actors will have to leave. That is coming. If you are a top tier actor, you will be sick. The cream will always race to the top. But if you're not, it's time to find another industry. I know it's not cool to say. We said the same thing to taxi drivers, though. When Uber came around, we didn't have any sympathy. When Uber came through and made those guys give up their taxis and pivot, actors, you have to pivot. You have to pivot. You have to learn technology. You have to learn the arts. You have to learn how to work the camera, the audio mic, whatever. I'm telling you what nobody else wants to hear. And I know it's uncomfortable, and I'm not going to sit right here and act like I understand it. But talk to somebody on the other side of it. Tell me where you can win at. Because the technology's already been there. It's been used. It's been being used. But now they are saying they're going to use it a lot more. What are you going to do? What can you do? Unless you go to management, if you're on the air talent and you are an actor right now, I'm saying this out of love. You better pivot. You better make a change. You better figure out another skill. You better figure out a way to work behind the camera, maybe do some editing. All on the camera talent that is not A-list should be worried. LA will be a new city in the next 10 years. It will be. I don't know how you can survive. I mean, it's uncomfortable to have these uncomfortable conversations, but uncomfortable conversations create healthy relationship dynamics. And if you love me, I love you, I want you to always feel comfortable. I want you to always know that I'm going to tell you the truth no matter what. I ain't going to lie to you. People can lie and tell you certain things, but you must be around people that's going to tell you the truth no matter what. It is a non-feasible situation. Lick your wounds, take what you can get. I don't know how the numbers going to make sense. The streaming thing is funny math anyway. I agree with you. Look at the artists. The music industry, look at the numbers. Tell me how you're going to recruit. Tell me. I don't know how. I just don't know how. I'm trying to do the math myself. It's just fuzzy math. Maybe you can do more live events, which that'll always show love. But unless you go to a certain actors thing, y'all, it's over. The wave, the Hollywood, I'm going to do this, is done. Pivot. Make adjustments. I want to see you win. But not, you ain't gonna win this way. Back on, y'all, to my final topic for the day. A controversial one, but I gotta be said. I got this from my wife, y'all. Remind you, she's an Essence, that type of black woman reader, lover. She keeps me afloat on what's going on for the women's side. If you don't notice, y'all, as a man, we tend to have our echo chambers as far as sports, man conversation. Women have the same echo chambers. But she brought something very familiar to me that I did not know about to my attention. What she brought to my attention, ladies and gentlemen, was that whenever you see places like the Shade Room, Essence Fest, anything that tends to be bought out that was once Black American and is now that's bought out by Africans or Caribbeans, African Caribbean women, why do y'all tend to show the negative side of black women, Black American people? Seriously. Why do, when you have a network or concept, you only show Black Americans in a negative light? The Shade Room, I didn't know the Shade Room. I'm not really a follower. I don't really know it, right? I'm just learning it. The Shade Room is bought by an African woman, entrepreneur, which I'm cool with, right? But they primarily show Black Americans in a negative light. Why? Why is it only emphasized negative lighting for Black Americans? But whenever you see something about Africans or people from the African diaspora, you see them as college graduates. You see them as having a wedding. You don't see Boko Haram. You don't see Boko Haram. You don't see different things going on, mass killings. Why is that? I genuinely want to know. My wife brought it to my attention, y'all, and I did my research. I'm not just speaking out what's going on my net. I did my research on it. There is a thing where you only see Black women, specifically, I would say women. You see our males too, which some of us deserve. I'm not going to sit right here and say we don't, but our Black women especially, you see them in a much more negative light when you see African women talking about them. It is much more twerking, fighting, and hood culture being promoted. Very rarely do you see our women in their weddings, our women that are married, our women that are trying to do well. Black American women, because I'm a Black American, right? Why is it that you don't see that perpetuated in a positive light? I think there's an honest conversation we got to have amongst family. I view African, Caribbean, different backgrounds as cousins. We all cousins. We're not brothers and sisters, we're cousins. My brothers and sisters are other Black Americans. But our cousins, what is that issue? What is that? It's not all. I'm not going to sit right here and be disrespectful. It's not all. But you know who I'm talking about. Let's not act like it's not an issue. The one thing we can never do, family, is act like we cannot talk about the problems. Not talking about the problems does not make the problem go away. Not talking about the problems amplify the problems. I tell my family members all the time, us arguing and not talking about why we didn't argue ain't positive. Us seeing the fight and not discuss why the fight happening doesn't help anyone. Why is it a feeling that way? My wife told me, y'all, she blatantly feels that it is only a negative amplified image. She wasn't the only one that felt that way. It is an undisclosed, kind of quiet thing that most Black women do because we know we have the other issues going on, which I ain't even gonna touch. You feel me? I'm leaving that alone. But the one issue right now, why do African websites specifically, when you see African women promote that, why do they have Black American women in such a negative light? Why? I really want to know. I just want to spark the conversation because I believe if you look at the websites, you see the trends, it's only what you see. You see the hood culture, you see the fighting, you see the internal battles, you see that. But you don't see the Chicago young lady that graduated from Maine University this week. You don't see the young lady that built the app to help industry. You don't see the Angela Rich of the women being a Black women in tech building up the injuries. You don't see the Black married couples being implemented on there. I'm not saying that the negative cannot be on there, but it cannot be the only look and the only imagery. That is something right now we must have as a family conversation about, y'all. Our cousins. Again, why? Why is that the only light, only image we see? I believe it's a good question, y'all. And I believe it is something that we must answer. But number one, if that doesn't continue to get changed and we see that image, issues are going to continue to come about. We already must delineate. We know we're Black Americans. We know y'all are African Americans. That's cool. Now that we are here now, Now the boundaries must be established. Now the boundaries must be set. What's acceptable? What's cool? What's not? What is acceptable? What will not happen? All I'm saying is that question must be laid to the table. When you buy these companies, why do we see negative perpetual images, primarily of Black American women? I can't answer it. I'm not a woman, number one. Number two, I'm not African. But those negative sentiments must be answered and must be discussed. And I do believe that it's something to let that marinate, that we'll dive in heavy on our next live and open discussion. It's your boy, King Crowder. Man, live number 4 officially in the books. I think I bodied that joint. John Cena Body Slam. Thank you for watching this live. I appreciate everybody that get to watch the channel. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Please, all my followers, make sure to hit the share button. Make sure you stay in for the weekly content I have. History is what I primarily discuss on this channel. But I'm here to just talk about regular life events to you. Please make sure you comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate all the time and the energy you gave me this weekend. Thank you for another live on Sundays. It's your boy, King Crowder. Check it out. Peace.